Good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome back to my man cave. Got brother Jeff with us as usual, and Tanya and Lily are up there running things from the back. I see Lily on the table there. So
The tail end.
yeah, it's Thursday. It's live stream time, and I've been looking forward to bourbon night this week. Uh, Tanya and I went out for dinner tonight, and on the way home, I stopped by the local shop, and I found a bottle of the 12-year-old Knob Creek. So I'm gonna peel the wax off of that one and
Yeah.
have a drink. Jeff, you drinking with us tonight?
Oh, absolutely. Got me some Chattanooga 111.
All right, Hank, glad you could make it. Brian, down in Alabama. Oh, let me see here. Let me get back over there to the chat window so I can see what's going on. Peter, Hank, Ryan, Beth, glad you could make it in. I'm just trying to get this bottle open. This is my favorite night of the week, guys. Let's have a finger or three of this stuff. Tanya, what are you drinking up there?
Well, I have some coffee and some ginger ale.
There you go.
What a combo, right?
Cheers.
Oh, frosted cheer wine, Brian.
Mm.
Now you're talking.
This 12-year-old Knob Creek is markedly richer than the 9-year-old stuff. That's, as far as I know, that's the only difference in the twos. How long this one gets aged 3 years longer than the other, but it's this one has a more, in my tasting experience with that, it has a more pronounced, I believe it's a vanilla. I'm getting a vanilla out of that I don't get so much out of the 9-year-old, but it's really good. If you ever get a chance to try this one, guys, it's definitely worth grabbing. I like all three. I haven't tried the Knob Creek Rye yet, but I've had all the other three normal variations of the bourbon I like. I'm a big fan. So, Hank, Tito's. Okay. If you're having a drink with us tonight, let us know what you're having. Leave a comment, and also let me know where you're from. I like to try to keep up with uh, how far we reach on Thursday nights. We usually have a pretty diverse crowd from a lot of different places. And Jeff, did you get all the damage and mess from the hurricane? Did you suffer any damage from the hurricane?
Just a bunch of trash in the yard, excess water.
Right. I saw those pictures, the pictures of the flooding in your area. So, uh,
That was a little crazy. I've lived in this house since '68. Well,
uh-huh.
I haven't lived it the whole time, but it's the house I grew up in. I've never seen flooding in this neighborhood like that. I mean, like I said, we got over 12 inches of rain in 24 hours.
Yep, that's a lot.
Yep.
We didn't get, we got rain the next day here, and we, I can't remember. I looked at it on my weather station. We got like 3.6 or 3.7 inches of rain, and about 3.4 of that came between about 6 p.m. Tanya, is that about when it started?
Mm-hmm.
And midnight. It was mostly, we got pretty heavy rain there for 6 hours, and then it was gone the next day. It was pretty. So yeah, we did get dumped on for a short time. So Tanya, I'll bring you back here in a little bit. We're gonna get going here. Ricky and Roswell, glad you could make it. See, Andy's here, Carla, Mike, Ed. Yeah, good deal. Got a lot of our regulars here tonight. So Jeff didn't do a lot of cooking this week, and unfortunately, I didn't do a lot of cooking this week either. I've been a little bit busy, and part of the reason I've been busy is I am in the process of changing jobs. I am tied. I've been tied up with that, but right now I'm going to be free of that mess up until I start my new job. I'm going to work at another hospital October 31st is actually my start day. So I'm leaving the hospital where I am, going to another one, and I'm coming out a winner, a big winner financially on this move. So I'm looking forward to it. Uh, Jeff, you just said you cooked a chicken this week. I didn't know.
Yeah, cooked the chicken on a bark. A chicken, one chicken.
How did you do it? Did you do anything out of the ordinary with it?
No, just turbo trussed it and uh, used the honey pecan from AGC.
Uh-huh. Speaking of turbo trusser, I talked to Brian Halasinski earlier this week, and he and Kurt are going to come on with us on the live stream here. I asked him to pick a Thursday that suited him, and he said that he would, and he would let me know because he had actually asked in the past if he could come on. And I'm looking forward to bringing those guys on, especially now because they were just on Shark Tank with their turbo trusser, and I'd like to bring him on here and talk about the Shark Tank experience and talk about the turbo trusser and what kind of plans they have for it and where they're planning on going forward, what they're going to be doing. So, yeah, Carla, they were on Shark Tank this past Friday, I guess it was. And if you go, you can watch. If you can go out and watch a replay of it, if you've got any of the streaming TV services. Yeah, Hank, I'll be doing the exact same job at a different hospital. My work schedule's changing slightly. Instead of the 2-night gig that I had, I'm going to a 3-night gig. So I'll actually be clocking 36 hours now instead of just 24. So, but yeah, I'm getting a pretty healthy raise out of it along with a fat signing bonus. So I'm real happy about that all the way around. So Jeff got cleaned up from the hurricane and got out of that without any damage. I always worry about that stuff, and the main reason I worry is the news media always overhypes all that stuff, and I bet it's even worse in your local area.
Well, this one wasn't overhyped. I'm going
Right.
to tell you, a lot of people didn't heat them down Fort Myers area. That Fort Myers, Sanibel, people are still stranded over in Sanibel. It took the bridge out. There's only one way into Sanibel Island. It took the bridge
I
out.
saw that. Yep.
Same thing with Pine Island. There's only one way into it. Took the bridge out.
Are those people still stranded?
I don't know if they've got them all out now or not. But they were told to get out of there. I saw pictures of Sanibel, and I mean, it's pretty well leveled. I mean, there's not a whole bunch left there.
Okay. Well, hurricanes are, I guess, I don't know. We've been this season so far has been, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to jinx y'all, Jeff, but you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Knock on wood.
Right.
But I tell you what, we can't afford to have another one anytime soon because we got places here in Orlando that are still underwater. Elementary school out on the east side of town, still sitting under a foot of water.
All I got cooked so far this week, I made video, and I'm planning to edit that video and get the video posted hopefully tomorrow night. But I cooked baby back ribs this week, and I know some of you've heard me talk about these before, but these Smithfield baby back ribs that I buy at Walmart, Jeff and I are both crazy about these ribs.
That's an understatement.
It took us. Did we find these was it about 2 years ago, Jeff, that we found these at Walmart? I was in Walmart one night and I was just looking at what they had in their meat case because I don't normally buy any meat at Walmart. And I saw this rack of baby backs sitting there and I said, man, that looks like a big rack of baby backs. I thought there might be 2 racks in there, and I picked it up and it's just one rack. And it weighed over 5 pounds. And ever since then, Jeff and I have been buying these things. And this one was 5.35 pounds packaged. And these guys have got a ton of meat on them, and they're absolutely delicious if you cook them right. So I wanted to try something slightly different than my normal method on these. And like I said, I made video that'll be coming out in a day or two. But I pulled them out, do the same thing I normally do to them. You can look down here on the short end of this, the short bone end of this rack, and see how thick that rib meat is there. And guys, that is all rib meat. There's no loin meat there. It's all rib meat. And I pulled the membrane off, and Rural Westra over at Pitmaster X did something this past week that kind of intrigued me. So I wanted to try it on the ribs, and that's just using mayonnaise as a binder. And I decided I was going to give that a try. And in the long haul, I don't think it made a huge difference here on my ribs, but I'm going to do it on the next pork butt that I do, because I think what I saw Rule come out with looked really good on the pork butt he did with it. So I'm going to be trying that again. But anyway, I just smeared on some mayonnaise, and then I hit this guy with my Man Cave Magic #2 homemade pork rub. And I just let that sit on the counter there while I got the Kamado Joe fired up. And I ran the Joe at 225. And these baby backs take longer to cook than the typical rack of baby backs. This rack of baby backs weighs as much or more than the average rack of pork spares that have been cut to a St. Louis cut. So I gave these guys 3 hours, well, just shy of 3 hours in the smoke before I thought they looked good enough to wrap. And this is what I had right before I was ready to wrap, and I was about I don't know, 2 hours and 45 minutes into the cook at this point. And Tom, I don't know about freezing ribs. I've never frozen a rack. I never buy them in bulk. So, Jeff, have you ever frozen ribs before, or cooked ribs that have been frozen?
Yeah, yeah.
Any issues with that?
No, I tell you what I used to do with my country ribs, country style ribs. I would take those because I get them in bulk, take them out of the
Yeah,
package, put my rub on them, vacuum seal however many I wanted for that meal, throw them in the freezer for 2 weeks with the rub on. That was really good.
yeah. So I don't know. The only problem I'm very aware of with freezing is if you freeze stuff multiple times.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, this is what they look like right before I was ready to wrap. And here's another picture. So I've got good color here, and I had also spritzed these guys maybe 2 or 3 times during that first couple hours. So in the foil, I sprinkled on some brown sugar and drizzled on some maple syrup and wrapped those guys back up tight in the foil. And I put it back on, and I left them in the foil for 2 hours. And here's what we had after that 2 hours. I took them off the foil and put them back on the grate, and I basted them with barbecue sauce. And I like on ribs, I like the sweet sauce. I like the Kansas City style sauce on ribs. So I just put a nice smear of that across the top of these and closed it up and let them go for another hour. And here's what we ended up with. This is that finished rack. I did not go back and give these guys an additional glaze at the end. I sometimes I do that and sometimes I don't. If I'm looking to make them look pretty, I put a glaze on about 10 minutes before they're ready to come off, where they have that nice, evenly shiny candy-like glaze. And I just didn't do that on this rack. And here we have them after I pulled them off and let them rest for 15 minutes or so, maybe 20. And then I sliced these guys up, and these were money. These were just absolutely off the hook. They always are. I have not one time had a rack of these ribs that I was disappointed in. And like I said, I don't buy them unless they're 5 pounds or better. I've got some that were 4.5 that weren't bad, but when you find this rack of ribs that's 5 pounds, it's something you don't want to pass up. If you've not tried these, next time you're in a Walmart, have a look. So, yep, they're crazy. Anurag, they were extremely juicy, extremely tender. I might could have left those on a few minutes longer. They had what I would call the perfect competition bite at the end of that cook, and I like mine typically to be a little more a little more tender than that. I've got no problem whatsoever with fall off the bone ribs here at the man cave. I've got that. That's not something that worries me in the least. That's a competition technique, and I know a lot of people want to try to cook to that, and that's fine if that's what you like. But if it falls off the bone at my house, it's not going to slow anything down because I'm not going to eat that bone anyway. I wonder if you could use those bones for a pork stock. Jeff, have you ever tried making stock with beef rib bones or pork rib bones?
I've never made stock with pork rib.
I need to find out if that's a thing or if it's doable, because if it is, I'm gonna start saving them. I could throw those bones on a roasting pan and toss them in a little oil and roast them under high heat and see what kind of brown stock I could get, kind of like I would with beef or chicken. You roasting the chicken bones like that. All right, you do it with pork bones, pork rib bones. I wonder if tonkatsu is done with bone. I don't know if that's done with bone broth or. Let me get Tanya. Tanya will know the answer to that. Tanya, is tonkatsu broth made with? I know that's a pork broth of some kind. Is it made with pork bones?
I don't know, to be honest with you. They'll just eat it.
I can't remember if it's done with pork or if they just cook pork in the broth. So, all right, Tanya, we'll bring you back. I'm gonna have to.
All right.
Oops. Say again, Tanya.
Rock's got an answer for us.
Raw. He says it's done with raw bones. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how big of a difference it might be between a bone out of a rib. I know that's cooked, but that's I don't know how much of the inner content of that bone's getting leached out during that cook, but I'm sure some of it does. So, all right. What do you think, Jeff? Jeff,
I
you're
would
not
think.
into ramen, are you?
I think I would use raw pork bones if I was going to make bone stock.
So
Brown them in the oven.
I'll have to take a look at that next time I'm at. There's only one grocery store in my area that I'm aware of where I can buy bones. There's one grocery store here that will often have some bones packaged up for making broth with, and I'll look next time and see if I know they have beef bones because I've seen them. I don't know if they have pork. The horrible thing is a lot of the grocery stores in my area these days don't have butcher shops per se. They're not processing any of their own meat in house. So Publix does though, and maybe I'll have to check with those guys too. All right. Unfortunately, I don't have any more of my cooks to talk about this week, but one of the things I wanted to start talking about this week is Thanksgiving that's coming. And I'm trying to decide, I've cooked during the time I've been doing video content, I've cooked a lot of turkeys, and I'm trying to decide if I need to do another turkey. If you think I need to do another turkey, speak up and tell me if there's anything specifically you'd like to see done with a turkey. I've done so many turkeys that I've written a document called Turkey 101 that I will probably publish again late October for the Thanksgiving season. It's kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for, Jeff? Not a monologue, but a manifesto on cooking turkey. I'm not a huge fan of turkey, so I don't get excited about turkey. But everybody does get excited about turkey at the Thanksgiving season, and then that switches to prime rib for the Christmas season. I probably will do a prime rib because I'll buy a couple of them because Jeff, they'll have that $6.99 prime rib at Publix again. So one of those will go in the dry ager and the other one will cook. So anyway, Smith 21 from Vancouver. All right, turkey on the Joe.
That's right. It's their Thanksgiving coming up this weekend.
In Canada. So the only advice I've got for you is if you got a big Joe, and he didn't say which Joe he had, but if you have a turkey of any size and spatchcock it, you're going to need a lot of real estate to cook it. You can't get a very big turkey on a. I don't know how big a turkey you can put on Big Joe spatchcock. Big Joe will probably handle it. The classic is a big, a 12 pounder is going to take up every bit of your grilling space.
Well, let's digest or digress a little bit here, John. What, in your opinion, is the sweet spot for the size of a turkey? Mine's 14.
12 to 14 pounds is where I like to be. Uh,
Absolutely.
I've cooked turkeys between 10 pounds and 22 or 24 pounds.
I don't
And,
think they're as good.
no, I like 14 pounds is a sweet spot, and that's a 3 hour cook for me most of the time because I cook hot. We'll talk about that in a minute. When I cook turkeys, I like to cook at 400 degrees or better.
Yep.
And Andrew, I don't know about another bird. I think if I have any say so about it, I don't think my mom's here with us tonight, but we'll probably do lasagna for Thanksgiving at my mom's house. That's a one dish meal. We'll have a salad to go with it, and I'll prepare it. I'll prepare the lasagna here, and I'll take it to her house and throw it in her oven to cook it. And there's very minimal cleanup after that. But let me talk about turkeys. I know a lot about turkeys, as many of them as I've done, and it's a lot of work to do a turkey right. The first thing, and Jeff, if you disagree with this in any way, speak up because I want to
Okay.
argue with somebody about this.
Okay.
If you buy a turkey at a grocery store, don't bother brining it. Thoughts?
I
You like brining. You like brining. I know you
I
do.
do brine mine, and I think it adds. I mean, all mine have come out that I've brined with the AGC Ultimate Turkey. They've come out great.
Well, the main the I guess if you want to add additional flavor to the outside of the bird, like you get with those flavored brines, that's fine. That's one thing. But the salt is another thing. Most of the commercial brines, like that one in particular, are lower salt content than a typical injection in a turkey. And
Mhm.
most of these birds have been pre-injected. You'll see it on the packaging. It'll say up to 10% or up to 12% of a. It may say saline solution or whatever, but it's a saltwater solution, and none of the turkey companies will give you any details on what that is. But from what I can tell, it's roughly a 3%. It's like seawater consistency. It's 3%, and the amount of it that they put in there. That if they put when it says 10% on the package, that means if you got a 20-pound bird, 2 pounds of that is a salt water that's been injected into the bird, and that's not a bad thing. It's getting that salt in there improves the flavor of the bird dramatically. If you have ever had a fresh bird that you have not brined, I think you'll see what I'm talking about. That salt makes a big difference in the flavor. But brining, you need to brine for about an hour per pound at a minimum, an hour to an hour and a half per pound on your bird. And the saltwater solution that you want to brine in should not be more than about 3%. And you can figure that out by figuring out how much water you're going to put in your brine. And it's once again, this is a number that's real easy if you use the metric system and work in liters. In 1 liter of water, you want 30 grams of salt. And so that means you would want 120 grams of salt in about a gallon of water. So, because a gallon's about 4 liters, it's close enough for all intensive purposes, Tanya. For all,
Ryan says he uses that Sweetwater spice, and I
yeah.
want to ask him a question. Is the Sweetwater spice, uh, is that in the bottle like the other Sweetwater products?
And while Ryan's answering that, I'm going to answer John's question here. Dry brining, uh, I think, is the best way to oversalt your turkey if it's already been injected with a saline solution.
That I will agree with.
Yeah, because all you're doing is adding more salt to a bird that's already got a good bit of salt in it. I don't believe you need any additional salt in a turkey that you buy from the grocery store. Uh, so these brines, like the ones Jeff's talking about, when you mix those up, you're rebrining a bird that's already been brined. So you're not, if you don't mix your salt solution more than that 3% that I'm talking about, you're not going to add too much salt to the bird. You cannot over salt a turkey if you brine it again in a 3% solution. It won't be over salted. Well, Honorog says that osmosis leaches out the wet brine. It does, but Honorog, if your brine is about 3% saline, it's going to be a wash. You're not going to leach out. You can't. It's going to be an equilibrium there pretty much. If you brine in just water, yeah, you're going to leach salt out of the bird. But if you brine in a saline solution, you're not. But if you brine in a saline solution that's over 3%, you're going to put additional salt into the bird. Or if you dry brine just by putting salt on the outside of the bird, and dry brining, something like a turkey, still needs to be a 24-hour process, probably on average. Dry brining doesn't happen as quickly as wet brining. Wet brining is a more efficient way to brine, but dry brining is a thing I know, and I dry brine most of the things I do, just not chicken or turkey. The chickens I get chickens from a local processing plant, and the chickens that I'm able to get here have not been pre-injected. So those chickens need to be brined. And I brine those. I use my briner bucket and let them go overnight usually. And I do that 3%. And anything you put in that water besides salt is not going inside the bird. It's just going to affect the outside of the bird. It's going to flavor the skin and the outer layer of the meat. It won't penetrate that meat more than about a 1/16 of an inch, I think, if I can believe what they say, what Meathead says in his book. So, but brining is something you can take or leave. Uh, in my opinion, I've gotten the best result. My favorite results are to not brine the commercial birds or the grocery store birds, and I just season the outside of them. However, one of my favorite things to do is to inject seasoned butter into that meat before I cook it. Like if I've got a 14 or 15 pound turkey, I will melt a pound of butter. I'll melt 4 sticks of butter, and in that I will put granulated garlic, granulated onion. I might put a little cayenne pepper in that, and I'll let those steep in that butter as that butter melts, and I'll let that simmer for a little bit, and I will inject every bit of that into the turkey. Because in my opinion, turkey and chicken as well. Actually, I like the flavor of chicken better than turkey, but both of them are kind of dependent on your help as a cook to make them into something that they weren't already. So I like injecting mine, and I still also like to season the outside of the bird. But when I season the outside of my bird, I like to get it. I got to get it completely dry with paper towels. I don't worry. I don't worry so much about drying mine in a refrigerator overnight because I'm cooking at 400 degrees. When I put that bird on the grill or on the smoker at 400 or better, in 10 minutes time, I'm going to have evaporated more water out of the skin of that bird than I would have putting it in the refrigerator overnight. Thoughts on that, Jeff?
I agree, totally agree. I say
Uh,
I've done turkeys where I've injected them. I've taken pounds of butter and let it come up to room temperature, softened, and rub it under the skin, on top of the skin. I mean, I've done turkey at least 47 different ways.
yep. So there's a lot you can do to a turkey, and this and the Thanksgiving season, you're going to see that in the social media forums. It's a big thing, and one of the biggest mistakes I think you can make on your turkey is trying to do too much to it. You can talk to 50 different people and get 50 different tips on how to make a great Thanksgiving turkey, but in my opinion, some of the things that you do, I don't think are what I would call a value added process, maybe. Uh, and I think, in my opinion, I don't know. Yeah, John, I use wood chunks, or if I'm cooking on the Joe, I use wood chunks, and if I'm cooking on the pellet grill, I don't, uh, obviously. But I think the pellet grill is the absolute best tool on the planet for cooking poultry. For chickens and turkeys, the pellet grill, even when you're cooking hot, when you're cooking at 400 degrees, that, in my humble opinion, produces the best smoke profile for turkey. On a Kamado, you got to be careful because it is fully capable of over smoking that turkey and making it acrid and bitter if you put too
Yep.
much on it, too much wood chunk in there. When I cook a turkey or a chicken on my Kamado Joe, I will have one chunk of wood that's about the size of my fist. I will get my hatchet and I will break that into three or four smaller pieces and
Yep.
put that in my charcoal, and that's all the smoke that thing gets. And I wouldn't use that much if I was using hickory. If I'm using cherry or pecan or oak, I'll use four pieces. But if I'm using hickory, I'd cut that fist size chunk in half and cut it into two or three smaller pieces simply because I don't like birds. I don't like poultry that's been over smoked. And poultry's like a sponge. It'll absorb every bit of
It
smoke you put
sucks it
over
up.
it. Yeah. It's like ground beef does the same thing. So that's one of the things I've noticed when I like to do what I call my smoked burgers. You got to be careful uh, with putting too much smoke on a hamburger when you're cooking it at 250 until it reaches up whatever your target temperature is. But turkeys are I'll keep your eyes open on the Man Cave Meals Facebook page because probably sometime close to the end of the month I'll publish the Turkey 101 post again. Or if you go out there and search for hashtag Turkey 101, you'll find it from the last several years because I do it. And Anurag, I made a video on homemade cranberry sauce that's crazy good. I can't remember which channel it's on. I can't remember if it's on Kamado Joe or on Atlanta Grill Company, but there's one out there. I love cranberry sauce, and I've done a lot of sides for Thanksgiving in the form of video. And one of my favorite ones is my stuffing recipe. Uh, but yeah, uh,
Well, going back to turkeys, John, supposedly, allegedly, I can't validate. I can only tell you what I've read. We may have a little bit of a shortage on turkeys this year. So if you see them,
it ain't gonna
get
hurt
them.
my feelings. Not gonna hurt my feelings at all. But Anurag, yeah, a lot of people don't like cranberry sauce. Uh, Cranberry sauce, if it's not made right, is bitter. You got to work on something that's got plenty of sweet. And in my cranberry sauce, I put orange zest in mine as well sometimes, and it's that's a nice thing. So, but cranberry sauce, yeah, I think you're right. I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm going to make sure. I don't think I have cranberry sauce on the Man Cave Meals channel. I think it needs to be there because cranberry sauce is something good for the Thanksgiving and Christmas tables. That's a. Do you like cranberry sauce, Jeff?
There's a bear poop in the woods.
Have you made it from scratch before?
Oh yeah.
I tell you what,
I
I
like
don't
I
care
like
for.
Alton Brown's recipe for cranberry sauce.
I don't know. I haven't tried his.
It's good. It's made with fresh cranberries. It's good.
Honorog says I need to think of something with greens or cauliflower. So maybe I'll get the Brussels sprouts are a fall thing. So maybe we'll get do something else with Brussels sprouts. I do want to do some more stuff with cauliflower. I need to work on roasting cauliflower and
John, let me tell you a good cauliflower thing. Kathy takes a whole head of cauliflower and she steams it for a little bit to get it
Right.
soft. Then she
Yeah.
puts it on a sheet pan, smothers Duke mayonnaise on the top, and puts Parmesan cheese and throws it in the oven until it's pork tender.
What,
Let
at
me tell you
450?
what, that
About
is
450?
off. Yeah,
Oh,
that is off the hook. The
okay.
crust that it gets, oh my God, that's good.
I'll tell Kathy. Let me pass a secret along to Kathy that she should try
Okay.
before she steams that cauliflower. Brine that cauliflower in that 3% salt water solution in the refrigerator for a couple hours before you steam it, and bring some of that salt
Well,
into that cauliflower.
well, she steams it in chicken stock.
Okay. Oh, all right. Steaming it. I don't. Okay. She does. I've never tried that either, so we'll see. I'll play with cauliflower. I'll get together with Tanya. We'll talk to Tanya. Let me just get her in here because Tanya. I know Tanya's liking the idea of talking about cauliflower again, right?
I'm gonna be honest. I really hate cauliflower.
Okay.
Okay.
So Tanya's not so. I thought Tanya would like Tanya likes cabbage, and
Click.
maybe
Tried. Now I did try something this summer that wasn't something that made me want to vomit immediately. They had done a Nashville hot cauliflower
yeah.
when I was up at Carnegie Mellon, and it was okay. I mean, like, I'm not going to tell you I would eat it again.
All right.
I was stunned
I'm
though.
going to send you Kathy's recipe for how she does that roasted cauliflower. I think you'll like
Okay.
it.
You know,
So in Honorog's favor, I'm going to do something green, and I'm going to do something with cauliflower, and I'm going to do cranberry sauce again. Uh,
maybe,
Maybe.
maybe. I'm
Honorog, it's
Maybe.
not the flavor that Tanya doesn't like. It's going to
just
be a
the
texture
texture.
issue. I can promise you.
The
I can
texture's
promise you, it's not a
awful.
flavor problem. Tanya has aversions to certain textures, and I didn't realize that cauliflower was going to be one of those.
Yeah.
Is it too soft? Maybe if we left it a little crunchy, would it be all right?
No.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry. It can't even be saved with ranch dressing. I don't like it raw. I don't like it cooked. I
Hmm.
I
just
don't like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam. I am.
exactly. But now, if you want to talk about some cabbage, then yeah, I'll mac out some cabbage. I love that
Tanya and
stuff.
I,
I
we
love
we
fried
make we
cabbage.
make we make cabbage steaks sometimes. I'll get a head
Yeah.
of cabbage and make inch thick slices of that and pan sear that and something like we'll use a little teriyaki sauce or maybe a little sesame oil and
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
a
love some
little
cabbage
cayenne, a
fried,
little red pepper
cabbage
flake.
steak,
We've done that kind of thing before, and she really likes that. But I've
stuffed cabbage.
I came across another technique for doing that I haven't gotten myself in gear to try yet. I've come to a discovery that I need to look at. I've only got one cast iron pan that I have a lid for. My 10-inch uh, Finex pan. It just so happens that the lid for the Finex Dutch oven fits that 10-inch pan, but the 10-inch pan's not big enough to do two cabbage steaks in, and I need a lid for a 12-inch pan or something else. Because one of the things I want to do after I get that sear on that side of that cabbage steak is what you do is you toss just a little bit of water or chicken stock or something in the pan, just a splash of it, put the lid on and let it steam in there for to finish off. And I don't have a pan big enough to do two of those in. It's got a lid. I don't know. I could do it on the chef's pan, but then I have to bring it inside. I don't want to put my indoor chef's pans on the grill. So
And you need to get this recipe from him now.
from Jeff,
No, from
oh,
I
from
don't know.
Monterey,
Yeah,
stir fried cabbage with coconut oil. Okay, well
yeah.
send it my way, and we'll have a look at it.
Try anything once, twice if we like it.
So
It's
we
delicious to
talked
me.
briefly about turkeys. If you have any specific questions about turkeys, toss them out here, and Jeff and I'll tackle those for you. But Is there any other sides you'd like to see that are non-traditional sides for Thanksgiving? Because I've done
Cinnamon rolls.
all the traditional sides for Thanksgiving, and I've got a cinnamon rolls video on the Man Cave Meals channel. That one that Jeff and I did. That video, I should redo it, I guess, because they tasted good, but my presentation was not as pretty on that video cook as the cooks that we had done building up to that.
Yeah.
All the cooks I had done building up to that looked better than the one where I actually made the video. What, we made those 3 times or 4 times before
Oh, God, we made them more than that.
Yeah.
But
You know,
we finally settled on a hydration that was, to me, just absolutely perfect.
Yeah. So
John, I have an idea
what's
that's
that?
kind of traditional and green and would be challenging and fun, I think.
What's that?
What you need to do is, your mama makes this green bean casserole that I'm obsessed with.
Yeah.
So, and it's all canned stuff.
Right.
So, what if you did a fresh take? If you redeveloped your mama's casserole?
Green bean casserole. Well,
Yeah, the one
here's
that's
the
got the
deal.
corn and the water chestnuts in it.
Well, I can't buy raw water chestnut anywhere that I'm aware of.
Right.
Those vegetables, the green beans, are going to be out of season, but I'll be able to buy green beans. I could use fresh green beans. But has that got cream of mushroom soup as a base in it? What kind of, there's a soup base in there
She
somewhere.
puts cream of chicken soup in it. And what I think
Ew.
you need to do is make a cream. And see, he's agreeing with me here. You need to make a cream base that doesn't have chicken in it. That way I don't have to pick it out before, and.
Well, cream of chicken soup doesn't have any chicken
Yeah,
pieces in it either.
Oh,
It does
yeah.
not.
It
Well,
totally does, John. Trust
Just
me.
swap out the cream of chicken for cream of mushroom.
Or any other cream of something. I could use cream of mushroom. I could use what I think. Well, cream of mushroom would be good in that for sure.
Yep.
What I could do is
Your mama uses cream of chicken.
well, I could take the cream of mushroom and I could put some chicken bouillon in that, and bring the chicken flavor back to the cream of mushroom. So
You're right. It is pink and it is nasty.
So I'm not sure what y'all are talking about because the only cream of chicken soup that I've ever used is Campbell's, and it's the
It's
condensed
in
stuff.
Campbell's, honey. It's in it. Good God. Trust me, I've been picking that chicken out of that can for years.
Okay, so we're gonna make a man cave version of my mom's green bean casserole. Okay, I'll get the recipe from
And the
mom and
water
find out.
chestnuts.
I don't know what she puts in it, but I can promise you I'm gonna have to buy most of those ingredients pre-made because it's got those those onion crisps.
No, it does not.
What's
Your
she talking with?
casserole does not. Mm-mm-mm.
So what does she put on the top of it?
She uses Ritz crackers.
Okay, well that's
And a little
what's the
stick of
difference. I'm not gonna make the crackers to go on it. So
So,
how much of this is going to be homemade when I
well,
get my hands on it?
The beans.
The beans.
make
I'm
a
gonna.
Beans and maybe the soup if you want to make the cream of mushroom soup.
No, not mushroom. Don't screw it up. Don't screw it up. We got to
She wants
do.
a homemade cream of chicken. Man,
With
that's going to be a lot of work for that.
It
Just
is.
There's a
use the
reason.
chicken
There's a
stock.
reason casseroles are popular. It's because they're easy to make.
That's right.
And
Can of this, a can of that, throw it all together and throw it in the oven.
Let me tell you what. John's mama's, I think she calls it 7-layer casserole, is fabulous. It is just fantastic. And then it's got some great crunching with the water chestnuts. And it's delicious. When she makes it, I'm just like, yeehaw. That and her corn souffle are so fabulous.
the corn
By the way,
souffle is something I should learn how to make too. That's good. That's a good side for any
The
meal.
corn souffle,
Yeah, maybe I need to do that.
so good. I just have to tell you, 100%, y'all, I don't eat turkey at all, and I never have, and I never will.
Yeah.
I don't like turkey, but I do love the sides at Thanksgiving.
All right,
Stuffing,
Tanya, don't sugarcoat us. Tell us how you really feel.
stuffing, as long as it wasn't stuffed up the bird's wazoo. If it's stuffed
Mhm.
off the bird's wazoo, I don't want it. I want some clean, non-bird wazoo stuffing, and then some delicious mashed potatoes with no giblet gravy. Oh, so just give me that, and some of your mama's
I think I
casserole.
think I'm gonna remake them. I'm gonna make another batch of my Simon and Garfunkel stuffing.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yep. But at any rate, I love Thanksgiving sides. I think you should do nothing but Thanksgiving sides.
Well, I'll make some video content on it, but our Thanksgiving meal is gonna be lasagna. So
That's what I told you and convinced you and your mama to do.
yeah,
So
so we're gonna
yes,
hopefully we're gonna do that again.
Ed, if I am at a traditional Thanksgiving dinner, I just eat sides. Years ago, I convinced John to do lasagna. And as a matter of fact, the very first Thanksgiving that John and I were dating, like officially dating, I made teriyaki steak with rice and some of that clear mushroom soup instead of turkey crap. Anyway, but yeah, I just eat the sides.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
God,
what.
you have to go upstairs later.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, that won't be a problem.
Nah, I like John pretty good. I think I'll keep
So
him.
we're gonna do cranberry
Lucky
sauce.
baby.
We're gonna do cranberry sauce, green bean casserole, whether it be homemade or
It's got
not.
to be your mama's 7-layer
Okay.
green bean casserole because it is delish.
We're gonna do something with cauliflower. We're gonna do something with. I'm gonna have to figure this out because I'm not gonna do more than 3 or 4 videos during the Thanksgiving season on sides.
Well, you can
So
skip the cauliflower. I mean,
John, I don't think you need to do the cauliflower one.
for Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
let me do the cauliflower one in the spring. Uh, in the meantime, I'll come up with something awesome with cauliflower. I'll start playing with it.
I think a corn casserole would be good.
corn
That-
soup.
I might even go after that one myself.
Jeff, my mom makes this thing called the corn souffle that's off the hook, and I'm pretty sure it's fairly easy to make. And I'm going to ask her for the recipe, but I think she's going to fuss at me because I think she's already given it to me, and I don't know what I did with it.
It's
I'll have
all
to check my I have to check my email, but that might call for
Tell her it got wet from being used so often,
no
and the ink
that
ran.
I'll have to figure that out. The corn souffle.
I'll tell you guys, I have a great recipe for turkey. The only turkey you should do is you should march yourself right down to a chocolate store and buy one of the Godiva turkeys and eat it. That's the
Yeah.
best turkey you're going to get.
So
It's a good turkey. I won't deny that.
It's a delicious turkey.
Brian's asking him, Jeff, are you planning to get that new rotisserie basket set for the Kamado Joe? I'm not at $200.
I'll be quite honest with you. I may come up with one, but it's not something that I would use that often. I think it's more of a novelty thing, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, I don't
Yeah,
cook
people
on
are
the Joe
cooking wings in them all the time. I like my wings on the pellet, Joe.
I don't like cooking wings in the basket, and I've tried it multiple times, and I like my wing results way better other ways. And I'm
Oh,
not a big,
absolutely.
I'm
And the
not a huge
cleanup is
fan.
ridiculous.
And I'm actually in a position now where I can say this without somebody fussing at me, guys. I don't like cooking on the rotisserie, and that's why you haven't seen me do it that much to begin with. It's not my favorite method of cooking hardly anything. There's a
Well,
couple of things.
no, I disagree
that
with
do
you.
well.
I
There's a
disagree with
couple
you.
of things that I think come out well on the rotisserie, but I'm
Prime
not
rib?
a fan. I definitely don't like prime rib on the rotisserie. I
Why?
would much rather cook my prime rib over indirect heat at 250. I get a much more even cook, and I I've got that nice pink all the way through the meat.
I can get that on. I can get that on the rotisserie,
I
John.
can't get it on the rotisserie unless I put a heat deflector between the meat and the fire, which negates the point. Hey, Russ, I'm glad you can make it with us tonight. Russ Jones is out there, but I don't. I've cooked several prime ribs on the rotisserie and never been really satisfied with them. But
That
that's just me.
that pork roast that I did on the rotisserie,
Mhm.
I was off the hook, buddy.
Pork loin is one of the things that I do like cooking on the rotisserie. I like putting pork loin on there. Uh, I think rotisserie chicken's a good thing, uh,
Hmm.
but I cannot get. I always have rubbery skin. There's no way, in my opinion, to get a bite through skin texture on a rotisserie chicken. Have you been able to beat that problem?
I don't have that problem. I mean, I base mine. Sometimes when I do a rotisserie chicken, I don't put a rub on it. What I put on it is a mixture of oil and paprika, and I baste it with that
Right.
throughout the cook, and the skin comes out great.
I've never been able to get good skin on a rotisserie chicken, so I like roasting my chickens hot, which means, like I said, I prefer the pellet grills for chicken. Ryan,
Oh, definitely.
the reason the chicken's not as good because it's constantly basting itself. It never gets dry enough, in my opinion, to get a bite through texture to it. Uh, Even the ones you buy in the store, like if you go down to Sam's or Costco and buy one of their rotisserie chickens, the skins are typically rubbery on those, and I'm getting the same sort of result when I've tried it. I consider myself a fairly good cook on the grill, but I have not mastered rotisserie chicken that I think can compete with the other way I cook chicken. But the basket, the wings are all the rage. Everybody loves cooking wings in the rotisserie basket, and I'm not going to try to take that away from anybody. But that's, in my
Wings and vegetables.
the vegetables I think would be better in the basket. Like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, a deconstructed kebab in the basket. Put chicken pieces in there, mushrooms, tomatoes, uh, broccoli florets. Put anything that you might throw on a kebab. Just toss it in that basket. And, you can baste that with oil as it's spinning. And by the way, guys, for what it's worth, I have not had my hands on the Kamado Joe, the new basket, but I've seen pictures of it, and I think it's a really good design. I think as far as rotisserie baskets are concerned, that particular design is way better than the Napoleon basket or any other
Yep.
basket I've seen. But it's pricey. It's $200 for that kit, and I'm not planning to buy it. I'm just
Well, I
not.
think one of the reasons why the price went up so much, John, is because it's a one-shot basket. It fits both the classic and the Big Joe.
Well, I thought that the other
So
one was the same way.
so
They
it's
didn't have two
it's
sizes on the previous one.
no, but the rod that comes with it and everything, it fits both of them.
Oh, okay. So they're sending the rods.
See, the other one, yeah, the other one you used your rotisserie rod. This comes with the rods. It fits both of them, and it's. I think they took a take off of Masterbuilt. When Masterbuilt sends out their rotisserie, it fits all three of their grills.
Okay, because the rod doesn't go through this basket. It's only on the outside.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, anyway, I thought the other one had that same setup, but maybe
No,
not. But I didn't have a good.
that's my take on to why it's more expensive because it does fit both grills. So I mean, if you
Yeah,
lucky and you have a classic and a Big Joe, you're good to go either way.
right. I just don't cook a lot on the rotisserie. Now, the rotisserie on the
I don't
Masterbuilt,
either.
that Masterbuilt Gravity, Jeff, do you have a rotisserie kit for yours?
Yep,
That I
yep,
would like that better. I would like that rotisserie setup better than the Kamado Joe because it's more of an indirect setup. Throw a prime
yep.
rib on that, I'd probably be happy with it. I've not been happy with anything I've done on the Joe prime rib wise yet with a rotisserie. I always cook my prime ribs at 250 degrees over indirect heat, whether it be on the Kamado or on the pellet grill, and that's where my favorite results come from. I do not worry about searing the outside of my prime ribs. That's not an issue for me. I don't do it.
Well,
And
and particularly, a lot of the prime ribs that you get, the bone has been separated from the meat, and then it's elasticized back together again. You
right,
try to sear it, you're popping those
right.
that
So
that trussing back, so it's not
I
worth
just
it.
don't mess. I don't mess with the rotisserie, and I'm not going to say I'm a bad influence on. I just everybody, guys. You all know everybody has their favorite way of doing things, and I have tried to get on the rotisserie bandwagon. I've got a rotisserie here for the classic, and I've not fallen in love with that. Uh, I've used it. I've tried, and I've just not been able to make myself fall in love with that process. But what it boils down to is if you enjoy that process, then you should be doing it by all means. Anything you enjoy, I'm not. Don't let me try to talk you out of it. I know the way I like to do things, uh, and it may be one of these situations where I grew up doing it a different way. I had a lot of miles on a Kamado before the Joe Tisserie was even available. And
And
Joe's
see,
like,
that's where you and I differ. I grew up on rotisseries. I mean,
yeah,
way back, all the way back to
uh,
the Kenmore charcoal grill. Doing the rotisserie. So
right.
rotisserie's been a way of my life for 40 plus years.
The I think the duck that I did on the rotisserie was pretty good. The duck I've done a couple of ducks on the
Duck is very good
rotisserie.
on the rotisserie,
Yeah.
strictly because it's such a fatty bird. You need to render
Well,
that fat out. That's a great way.
with a duck, you don't have to worry about a crispy skin
No.
because that's not happening on a duck. And the rotisserie ducks I've done several ducks. I did a goose on the rotisserie as well, and the ducks all came out pretty good. I was pretty happy with the duck results on the rotisserie, but uh, in my backyard, it's not a tool that I'll buy. I won't buy the new basket, but I will endorse it. Just not having seen it, I'll endorse it because they have redesigned that. I believe those exterior components are stainless steel and they're a little
Yep.
bit heavier duty than the previous version, and the design is different as well. These basket pieces clip onto the outside of that rectangular flat piece, and I believe it's probably got more inner volume than the previous set had. So
Yeah, I wish Luca was on here. He could tell us all about it because he has one.
yeah, well, Stephen Hickey's probably got one also. I don't know if Stephen's here. I'd love to get. That's what I would really love to do. Maybe I should try to. Well, I haven't been able to get Luca or Stephen to come on live with me. Maybe I can find some. Oh, Scott Bartlow has it, and that's what we'll do. I'll get Scott to come on and talk about it. Because Scott, I talked to Scott a while back, and he said he'd like to come back on, and maybe I can get him to come on and do a segment about the rotisserie, the new rotisserie baskets. So I know he's got it, but I'll never get I'll never get Steven on here with me. I've tried, but um, I don't even
We're
know if
going to
he.
get him on.
It's not going to happen. I've quit
Yeah, it
asking.
is.
I've quit asking Steven. So we'll see what happens. But guys, we're up on our hour, and I'm not. I'm going to try not to run long tonight, like we always do. But
Time to go. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm sleepy.
Levi says he has the rotisserie basket for shrimp.
Yeah,
That
I
would
heard
be an interesting
what you were
concept.
talking.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I like skewering my shrimp.
yeah, but I don't know. It'd probably work okay. The thing about shrimp is it's such a quick cook. I don't.
Hmm.
To me, that I'm good when it comes to cooking shrimp. I'm going to spend more time
Getting it
dealing with
set
the
up.
rotisserie basket than I am going to be cooking the shrimp. Because when I put the shrimp on, I'm talking 3 or 4 minutes and we're done, if even that long, depending on how hot we're going. Shrimp is something I cook with my eyes. You can tell when the shrimp's done by looking at it. Yeah,
All of a sudden, I had like a Superman moment where he was using his X-ray vision, like whoosh, to kick the shrimp. I cook shrimp with my
And
eyes.
Tanya, are you sure you're only drinking coffee and what?
Yeah,
I can
just
assure
coffee.
you, she's not drinking alcohol.
Yeah, I just
Hey,
don't
glad you
drink.
could join us. All right, guys, we're going to shut down, and maybe next week we'll have a turbo trusser. We'll see. I'll talk to those guys again and see if we can get them here next week. And if not, maybe I'll talk to Scott Bartlow and we'll get his impressions on the Kamado Joe basket. So until next, and think about Thanksgiving stuff. If you guys have any other things that you'd like to see some content on before Thanksgiving, start letting me know, because I'm gonna do a pumpkin, some sort of a pumpkin cheesecake once again, which can be that'd be a good dessert item at Thanksgiving or Christmas. So y'all have a good week. We'll see you later.